Safety is very important even in the maritime sector. Safety of lives, safety of cargo, and safety of everything generally. And when that is well put in place, it would harness the potential in that sector. And Nigeria is very, very keen on harnessing the potential of the maritime sector. And so we have things like the Deep Blue Project, which focuses a lot on security, intelligence, and so on to make doing business on the high sea very, very secure. Welcome, this is NIMASA This Week. My name is Cordelia Obe, and today on the program, we'll be giving you an update on some of the people who just graduated from the intelligence training they just had under the Deep Blue Project. NIMASA made sure it went very well, and I'm very sure you'll be very happy at what we'll be showing you today. Last week, I did promise you that we'll be going to see what the Western Zone of NIMASA is all about. NIMASA has zones, and today we'll be focusing on the Western Zone. So stay with us as we'll be taking you through all this on the program NIMASA This Week. Welcome. The Deep Blue Project, which was approved by the federal government last year, has taken deep roots in Nigeria already. The consultants on this project, HLSI, recently trained participants who were drawn from the military and the police. The focus was on artillery and intelligence. The session was quite interesting, and it was like a gathering of the who is who from the military. Let's take a look at the ceremony and see how well everything was presented.
The Deep Blue Project is aimed at improved protection of the Nigerian waters with a smart command and control center, which will be located at the NIMASA Resource Center in Kirikiri. It will also see to the integration of modern capabilities on the hand for better control of the Nigerian Sea. The intelligence course was to train certified professionals with high technical ability. 22 participants drawn from all the arms of the Nigerian military, including the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Police, and the Department of State Services, DSS. Little wonder the top echelon of the military graced the graduation ceremony, led by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olonishakin, represented by Rear Admiral A. Akinriade. The Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, who was represented by the Director, Maritime Safety and Security, Federal Ministry of Transportation, Engineer Danjuma Dauda, has reiterated the federal government's determination to rid the Nigerian territorial waters of criminalities through the Integrated Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure, otherwise known as the Deep Blue Project.
This administration has embarked on developments of laudable policies and projects in both the rail and maritime sectors aimed at not only the provision of services to the citizens of this country, but also the development of indigenous capacities necessary for effective economic growth. One such policy is the Deep Blue Project. The project is a system that provides both land and air-based surveillance capabilities linked to command and control centers at various locations via voice and data communication channels to monitor coastal traffic and detect any emergency situations or various suspicious activities.
In his welcome address, the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, said the Deep Blue Project is geared towards building a formidable integrated surveillance and security architecture that will comprehensively combat maritime crime and criminalities in Nigeria's waterways up to the Gulf of Guinea. Dakuku stated that the agency, in collaboration with the National Assembly, was taking steps to ensure that the anti-piracy bill was passed soon. He said NIMASA was involved in both regional and domestic collaborations to ensure that maritime crimes in the country's waterways were reduced to a bare minimum, if not completely eliminated.
The Intelligence System Operator course is the heartbeat of the Deep Blue project. The Deep Blue project will be driven by intelligence. It is only when a security system is driven by intelligence that you can be sure of results. Today, technology has made it possible for us to do targeted enforcement, whether it's interception, whether it's enforcement, whether it's attack, whether it's defense. It must be driven by technology. And today, with the quality of persons that we have trained, we are sure that the Deep Blue project is not only going to be a reality, it will be one of the best programs of government to tackle insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea.
The Deep Blue project is simply to make use of advanced communication laced with intelligence and with law enforcement platforms. It is also a conscious effort towards addressing illegality in Nigerian territorial waters and indeed the Gulf of Guinea. This much was explained by the lead consultant from Hilsi Systems, Mr. Mickey Gash, in his presentation during the graduation ceremony. Certificates were presented to the successful participants. They came one after the other to receive their certificates. The GOC 9th Mechanized Division, Major General M.S. Yusuf, representing the Chief of Army Staff, Air Commodore S.O. Shobande, Rear Admiral M.A. Eno, represented the Chief of Air Staff and the Chief of Naval Staff respectively. The AIG Marine Abdul Dahir Danwanu, who represented the police, and Mr. Ado Ibrahim from the Department of State Security Service DSS were also on hand to make presentations. And the best graduating student, Abdul Razak Lawal Mohammed, stepped up last to receive his certificate from the representative of the Honorable Minister.
The intelligence operator training we went through, it has really exposed us to so many things. We have the ability to actually monitor vessels entering the Nigeria Exclusive Economic Zone, which spans from the coastline to around 200 nautical miles. That's around 4,000 kilometers from our coastline. We can track any vessel entering our Exclusive Economic Zone. That means we can see their historical path, where this vessel is coming from, who owns this vessel, what activity was this vessel doing at its last port. Then from this information, we get to determine which is the risky vessel, which vessel can pose a significant risk, and which vessel should actually be banned from entering our waterways. We believe with this intelligence gathering, we can actually curb these incidents before they occur. We can stop accidents. We can actually make the country proud by making sure that this loss of revenue is cut.
NIMASA had earlier in the year graduated 24 C41 system operators and also recently 300 officers of the Nigerian Army who were trained on the basic infantry course, all under the Deep Blue project. The project provides both land and air-based surveillance capabilities.
You understand that, of course, security today is all about intelligence. That's the most critical component of fighting insecurity anywhere. The fact that with technology now, you can know what's going on, you can monitor what's going on within your maritime environment, you could do targeted enforcement, and you could also detect suspicious movement so that you know what to do. And so these officers have been trained to use technology, they've been trained to apply their minds, and of course to be very analytical in looking at the maritime environment. So that's what we've just done today.
Introducing the new face of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. We are charting the direction for a maritime and regulating the industry for a better, bigger, and more economically stable Nigeria. Evolved to serve you better. We are NIMASA. New face, rejuvenated service. NIMASA, changing the tides in your favor.
Okay, you're still watching NIMASA this week. The partnership between NIMASA and international bodies is a very important one, or they are very important, and this is according to the NIMASA DG, Dr. Dakuku Peterside. One of those being the partnership that involves onboard sea time training for Nigerian graduates under the observation or under the control of the Seafarers, Nigerian Seafarers Development Program. He made this known when he played host to members of the Maritime Academy of India when they paid visit, and a memorandum of understanding was signed between the agency and the Maritime Academy of India as concerning onboard sea time training.
NIMASA has trained about 2,000 Nigerians under the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program (NSDP) scheme since inception about a decade ago. It's a program aimed at bridging the gap of aging seafarers. However, the issue of sea time training became a challenge, and the management of NIMASA has continued in their quest to ensure that all Nigerian seafarers acquire sea time training on ocean-going vessels. The Maritime Academy India, led by its managing director Niraj Kumar, were in NIMASA to sign a memorandum of understanding to train Nigerian seafarers on ocean-going vessels. While welcoming the team, NIMASA DG Dr. Dakuku Peterside noted that this is the part of the process of solving the challenge of sea time for Nigerian seafarers. He noted that the MOU covered the training of 60 cadets in 3 batches of 20 each.
The bigger picture for us is that in the next few years, we want to be a major supplier of qualified seafarers to the shipping industry globally. We can replicate what's going on in the Philippines, we can replicate what's going on in China. We have the population, we have young men and women who are able, we have very resourceful people, and so nothing stopping us from being a major supplier of seafarers to the world.
Dakuku said the agency was in negotiation with other academies with access to ocean-going training vessels in countries like Turkey and the United Kingdom, among others, to secure sea time for Nigerians.
Under the current leadership of NIMASA, we're working very hard so that by the year 2020, we will have provided sea time beds for every person that have undergone our NSDP program. That's what we're working towards, and we believe that with the cooperation of institutions like the Maritime Academy of India and others, we will accomplish that goal.
In his remarks, the managing director of the Maritime Academy of India, Niraj Kumar, appreciated NIMASA's efforts to develop the seafarers and commended the NSDP initiative. TMC is India's leading maritime education, training and recruitment company.
The main things for the cadets, as you guys are the government cadets and NIMASA cadets, you are representing your country, so you have to work with integrity, loyalty, hard work. You follow all the code of conduct of NIMASA and the Maritime Academy, and you're going to learn at shipmanship, hard work, how to work together, how to follow all the children of your senior, to make sure that you represent your country very well. So in the future, the junior cadets, you open the doors for them.
It is noteworthy that some cadets have done their on-board sea time training under the first phase of the NIMASA fully sponsored sea time training program, facilitated alongside the Arab Academy of Science, Technology and Marine Transportation in Alexandria, Egypt. On-board training for another set of cadets was facilitated by the South Teesside College, UK. The agency has also trained some Nigerians under a partnership with universities in the Philippines.
I had told you last week that NIMASA has zones, and we introduced the Western Zone to Today we'll continue as we bring you fully the session we had with the Zonal Director of the Western Zone of NIMASA, Mr. Olayemi Abbas. Enjoy the session.
Very first thing I want to ask is, how do you work in the zone?
The zone, or our zones, because we, not just the Western Zone, we have a zone in Warri and we have another in Port Harcourt that covers the Eastern and Central zones. And of course we have a zone in Abuja, which is a bit of administrative. Now, the zones are a micro-reflection of the head office. While the head office shapes the policy direction of the agency, the zones are the arm to enforce those policies. So in the zones, you can summarize our work as operations, enforcement, and monitoring. So in the zones, we have the basic operational departments represented. That is maritime safety and seafarer standards. We have the cabotage services. We have the maritime labor services. We have the marine environment management. And we have the shipping development, all represented in the zone. And we have the other support services, financial services, administration and human resources, public relations, legal, Savicom, and planning and research and data management services. That's the ICT people. And so we do almost everything that is done in the head office, but at operational and enforcement level, while the policy direction is shaped by the head office.
In Nigeria, we believe that we have a lot of very good laws, but enforcement has always been our problem. Tell me, how do you go about enforcement in NIMASA?
As a regulatory agency, our job is guided by the NIMASA Act 2007, the Merchant Shipping Act as amended, the Cabotage Act 2003, international conventions of the International Maritime Organization and International Labour Organization. These are conventions, codes, protocols, and recommendations which have been either domesticated and ratified or domesticated or ratified by Nigeria. So we subscribe to these conventions. So we have the duty to ensure that operators in the maritime industry comply with those statutes and international conventions. So that's why our work is basically operations and enforcement. And what that means is that these codes and statutes are being codified into a checklist, which our operations staff use when they board vessels or visit terminals, jetties, and ports, with a view to making sure that those rules of engagement are adhered to by operators in the industry.
If you find a ship or a company or whoever sort of gone far on one of your regulations, what do you do?
The rules of engagement are very clear to operators. They know what the penalties are for infractions. And it starts from fines to detentions of vessels that run foul of the regulations. And at times you know that under the ISPS code, we've had to seal off some terminals which were not compliant with the International Ship and Port Security Code. So it varies from the level of compliance to another. There are times when a slap on the wrist, for instance, in labor manning, under the Cabotage Act, vessels are supposed to be fully manned by Nigerians. But at times, some of the operators appeal that getting the top level officers, captains, first officers, and chief engineers who can do the particular kind of operations may be a bit difficult. So we give a period of time, a period of grace to develop Nigerian potentials for those positions to replace foreigners who want to do such operations.
How would you rate your success level as an organization as far as enforcement is concerned?
Since the new administration came on board in 2015, and we had a new DG in 2016, Dr. Dakuku Adolf Peterside, and his executive mandate. They formed an agenda known as the 6 pillars. And part of that trust, the main trust of the agenda, was enforcement. Like you said, the laws that are well codified, but implementation might have been the issue over time. So we developed a new strategy called the Uniform Joint Enforcement. Either though each department or unit as represented in the zone go on board at varying times. A vessel can have a marine environment management officer on board at 9 a.m. and by 11 a safety officer is coming on board. By 2 p.m. a labor officer is coming on board, or the following day. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of manpower, a lot of energy. So we've developed a Uniform Joint Enforcement standard operating procedure, which means our teams go together to make inspections, to undertake inspections. So you have a team consisting of the surveyor, the labor officer, the cabotage officer, the marine environment management officer, and perhaps from time to time when it has to do with ocean-going vessels, the shipping development officer. They go on board at the same time and do their work together, led by an officer, and they report in one report, which makes it easier to be able to synchronize issues. And this has also helped the operators a lot.
How has the NIMASA fared in the Western Zone concerning port and flag state implementation?
From the zone, we have the district surveyor. The district surveyor is somebody who is a specialist in marine safety and survey matters. So port and flag state inspections are undertaken by our surveyors who board these vessels, ocean-going vessels, and inspect. Although the law requires us to board randomly 20% of vessels that call on Nigerian ports, but most times we exceed that figure. However, under the Abuja MOU, that's Abuja Memorandum of Understanding, which is the Secretariat is domiciled in Abuja, we have the MOU allows vessels that have called at other West African ports to come into Nigerian ports. When we board them, as long as they carry certification from any of the ports, we use that as a basis for the inspection, unless there is any other reason to find out that something untoward had gone wrong during the earlier inspections. So that eases our operations. It makes it, we synergize with other maritime authorities in the West and Central Africa area.
Enforcement is everything. If things must go well, then you must monitor it very well. Let's go to the field and see how enforcement is done.
I want to believe that we are in high spirit this morning and we are prepared for the tasks ahead. I want to remind us once again, safety should be our priorities.
We are on board HMT-1, one of the fast intervention vessels of NIMASA, used for our enforcement operation.
We don't just set out on a jamboree. We first go through the AIS to ensure that there are vessels for us to board and carry out our enforcement responsibilities. We carry out this enforcement to ensure that the various conventions are being respected by the vessels that come into this country, and for those that are into coastal trade, that they are observing the 4 pillars of the coastal trade in Nigeria, that they're registered in Nigeria, that they are manned by Nigerians. On the side of cabotage, we're very particular about that because that is an avenue to generate employment for our Nigerians. And so we always want to ensure that the seafarers on board any cabotage vessel are all Nigerians. It's a zero tolerance of foreigners on board our cabotage vessels.
Every great nation is also a great shipping country. Every great shipping country is a great nation.
Maritime in Nigeria is growing, so you need to be informed about the work of the regulatory body of the Nigerian maritime industry.
My name is Dakuku Petersai. I bet you're going to find out that it's a time well spent.
For news, views, and reviews, join us every week on this station on NIMASA This Week.